Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television, and I'm here with Marion County School Superintendent Laura Schlosser for our update on the Marion County school system. A lot of stuff going on that I want to update everyone on. And behind us, you can see the shield that we've been talking about for a while with the Marion County school system, but you might notice that there is something new in addition to this shield, right?
Yes. Yes, over in the quadrant, Gary, we've talked about before, that fourth quadrant where we talked about Success Ready. And we had a diploma and a graduation hat. And so you've also heard us talk about our Portrait of a Graduate.
Right.
Well, the symbol for our Portrait of a Graduate is a world, and our kids hold the world in their hands. And so we've replaced we've really not replaced, we've just laid that Portrait of a Graduate symbol over in that quadrant. So when you look at that, you see the world, and you see all of those words that our teachers and staff and community have come together to say, these are the things that kids need to know and be able to do beyond the classroom.
Right. And you can see it over my shoulder, and it's the world there. And talking about communicate all the various different words, things that are important for a successful graduate.
Right. And I think the best way to do that, Gary, is maybe to just give you some examples, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So, for example, on Friday, we had a fantastic Veterans Day ceremony. And our ROTC students planned the ceremony, and they made it happen. So, you know, those students obviously had to critically think about what they were doing and plan. They had to do research, which one of the C's is content. They definitely had to communicate with one another and all of the folks they invited. I mean, Andy Bashir opened up the session. I mean, they invited dignitaries, they invited all the veterans, they planned the program, and also it was a very moving ceremony, and I think creativity. I mean, it was so creative. I mean, they planned this entire ceremony themselves. And so, you know, that was a wonderful way to just demonstrate learning beyond the classroom. And then I think another word that's really important to Portrait of a Graduate is commitment. And you know, when we talked to our veterans, I mean, what better way to talk about commitment when you're sitting at the same table with the folks who have made the ultimate commitment, and that's to the United States and to our freedom. And so it was just a wonderful ceremony. You know, obviously we honored our veterans, but our children did a fantastic job, you know, being creative and communicating and all of those things. Another example of our world and our Portrait of a Graduate is we had a young lady by the name of Alexis Perkle. And Alexis, and maybe the next time you come back, I'll have an example of this picture for you to look at, because I would really love for the viewers to see just how talented our children are. But she used an iPad, and she used the drawing portion of that, and by hand she created a picture of a person, and you know, this person's reading a letter, but they have on an Army uniform. Her parents are both veterans, and she created this digital image, and we gave every veteran a copy of this print. So we actually printed that, she signed it, and she numbered it, and so there's only so many out there that's made. But what a wonderful example of a child who took content. And you know, her content was beyond the classroom too, because she actually has parents that are veterans. And then just think about the creativity. You know, her art teacher, Candace Potter, which by the way, Candace does a great job. We're very fortunate in Marion County to have her at the high school helping our kids with that last part of being success ready. But you know, she gave them the opportunity to be creative, and look what happened. We've got something that folks are going to take home and treasure forever. And so, you know, I thought it was just something that it was very touching. Another thing that we've talked about, I think we talked about this the last time, was our SHIELD project.
Right, yes.
And so, you know, I'd really like for you to talk to some of our kids, because I think they can probably do an even better job than I can talking about that. But this morning we met for the second time. We had 15 students sit around the table, And, you know, a SHIELD project is something that is going to give our children the opportunity to demonstrate the characteristics of a portrait of a graduate. Again, that's the commitment, the content, communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And so we have a community pantry that's located down at our 21st Century building behind Center Square. In that building, we have our 21st Century program, we have our English as a Second Language program, our migrant and our community ed, and also adult education. So when we talk about our SHIELD and we talk about access and opportunities, that's definitely an additional place in Marion County Public Schools that basically opens doors and opportunities. What we found with our other symbol is that equity. It's the little lines that are going everywhere. You know, life happens. There's a lot of layers to folks' lives. And our children are going to help with this project. We have a community pantry, and it's for folks that have found themselves in a hard spot. And Gary, we do have children that are homeless, and you know, they don't have their own home. They may be staying with someone or just basically going house to house. And we found that there is a need for some of our families that they do need some things. And so our children are going to wrap their arms around this issue, and they're going to find a way to sustain this pantry so that it's not just a one and done. You know, they talked today about why is this important. Obviously, that's a lot of critical thinking, you know, as a young person. Why is this important? Then we talked about, you know, what's our vision? And, you know, obviously as someone who's been doing this quite a while, or as an adult yourself, I mean, it would be really easy for the two of us to sit with a group of students and tell them why that's important. But we gave them an opportunity to figure that out themselves. You know, I really believe that a lot of times, if given the proper circumstances and the proper access and opportunities, I really believe that if adults get out of the way, kids can lead the way. And I really believe that this is another example of when kids are put in charge of learning, that you're going to see something special. You know, our dream bus is something special. Right. Our kids designed it, and our kids worked on it and did the work. And, you know, it's very special. Now, there's a lot of buses around the state now that's doing the exact same thing. They're providing lessons and they're providing food, and I think that's wonderful. But what I always want to brag about the most is that our kids, our students were an integral part of making that happen. What a wonderful way to demonstrate all the characteristics of a portrait of a graduate. And I really believe this SHIELD project that we're working on, and you know, and I think you're going to be very happy to hear what their takeaway from this is. We talked about leadership. They even said, you know, we need to have something at the high school. We need to have an organization. We need to have another club that's going to bring everyone together. I mean, in that communication and collaboration, you know, it's just beyond the 1 or 2 meetings that we have. And so, and then that shared leadership. Well, one student spoke up, and it was Seth Caldwell. He said, well, there's other student leadership groups in our community, and wouldn't they want to be a part of that? And so for them to say, you know, this isn't just about me leading, and I'm saying that as the students, not me, the superintendent, but, you know, there's a lot of other people that would like to be a part of this. And so when you think about these young folks, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, when we talk about the big dream of next generation, I mean, these are the next generation of leaders. And giving them an opportunity to sit around the table and problem solve. And they see that problem, and then they work to figure out and use all these skills that we're talking about. You know, basically, one of the students said, I mean, this is just the right thing to do for our community. That's great. So it was just, it's really special. I love our SHIELD. I mean, you know, Marion County has a rich tradition, but, you know, we also can be very innovative and allow and get out of the way and let the kids lead. And I think when we do that, we'll see additional special things just like the Dream Bus.
Absolutely. And that collaboration element too is really important to make all those things happen.
Absolutely. And in any community, I think, we have a fantastic Ham Days. Second to none. I'd say it's one of the biggest festivals in the state. That doesn't just accidentally happen.
Right.
There is a lot of collaboration that takes place. And what we want is for our young leaders to have the same opportunity to collaborate and make something special, like our Ham Day ceremony.
Absolutely. So we're going to hopefully have some more information on that too. I'll have the opportunity to talk to some of those students that are involved in that SHIELD project and kind of give you some more information on that. But also another project that's going on where there's some collaboration with the community, actually, with the schools, is your planning committee.
Right. Our local planning committee is meeting tonight. Monday, November the 12th, I think is today's date.
Yep.
But we have 20 folks that are on the committee. I am a part of the committee, but I'm a non-voting member. And we have folks from the community, we have parents, we have staff, we have teachers, we have some principals, basically everyone's represented. And so tonight, Gary, is an orientation meeting. And so we're going to have a lot of information to review. The architects will be there as well. Our board members will be there. They'll be there as well too. And it just recommends that the board is there. But this really is not about a board meeting. This is more for the board. It's more about a work session that they're aware of, that they get all the same information that our local planning committee. So they're going to have a lot of information to look at. It will be a process. We will probably need to meet, I'm going to say, not counting doing some school tours. It could take 3 to 6 meetings to meet. One of the things that we want to do that I'm not real sure what other districts do, but we've had some parents ask if we can tour the facility. And if you think about that, let's say that you have an elementary child, maybe you went to the same school they went, maybe you don't know what a Lebanon Elementary School looks like. Maybe your child's not at the high school, so maybe you don't know what that looks like. So we're thinking that if everyone's in an agreement, it may take us a couple of times, but maybe to just take the committee in the buildings to see what those schools look like, take the information that the architect has given us on paper, because obviously we have to be compliant. With the handicap and ADA and, actually the Department of Ed, they have regulations that say how much square footage per classroom, how big the media specialist, how big they'll even tell you how many acres that you have to have for a school based on the number of enrollment. So basically you take the paper and you put it with the building, and then that way you've got a real good picture of what those schools look like. Mm-hmm. And so when you come back in December, I'll be able to give you an update, and hopefully we'll have met a couple more times. I think the objective will be to try to get a plan to the Kentucky Board of Education for their approval this summer, because obviously with a legislative session next year, it will be a budget session. And so, we want to make sure that we have our plan in so we can get the additional bonding potential that we've talked about before.
Right. So we'll keep you up to date on the process there, but the process has begun, or is beginning today, I guess, to see how that all works out. And it is, as we mentioned, it's collaboration. It's members from the schools, but also people from the community who are going to be determining what facilities will be moving forward, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Now, also, recently we did have, in November, an election, and a couple of the seats with the school board were up, and there will be one new board member who will be starting in January. Amy Bland will take the seat currently held by Butch Cecil. And then Kaylin Reed maintained his seat,
yes.
Correct?
Yes, he ran unopposed. Yes.
So we had those two were the two that were up for election this year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many total? There are 5, right?
There are 5 board members. This year we had, like you said, there were 2 up for re-election. And I believe next year we will have 3. So it's kind of one year, it's kind of staggered that way. And I'm saying that, I hope I'm not saying that wrong. It may actually be another year.
I think it's in 2 years we'll have the 3 up.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's 3 and 2.
Yes.
They'll do it. Mm-hmm. So for that. And as we said, there is just that one seat that will be changing and one will be maintaining.
Right.
So also being November, There is actually, in our forecast, there's talk of snow already, but I don't think it's going to be, hopefully it's not going to affect the schools. But just tell us, what's your game plan for weather for this year? Anything changing?
Well, it's odd that you mentioned this. We are a non-traditional instructional school day district.
Right.
What we are finding is that the Department of Education said that's great, but there are going to be some new regulations that go along with that, and we are actually participating in a webinar this week to find out, what does that mean. Right now, what I'm going to tell you is that we will use non-traditional instructional school days sparsely. I'm still going to tell you that there is nothing that replaces that classroom teacher with that student. Mm-hmm. Nothing replaces that bus driver saying hello to that child when they pick them up in the morning. Nothing replaces those breakfasts and lunches that our kids get, our instructional staff that greet our kids, our custodians that give the kids a high five walking down the hallway. I don't want to leave anybody out. We have great principals, great support staff in our office. Nothing replaces that. Now, if we have a bad winter, those non-traditional instructional school days really help us so that we can have a last day of school that lends itself to a positive ending to the school year. So on our calendar right now, it's basically laid out pretty clear, and when you come back in December, I'll try to have that calendar. But basically the first couple of days that we're going to miss for snow, we're just going to add those on to the end of the year. Because again, I want kids to be with staff. If we start having several days absent, then we'll start using those non-traditional school days. You can find our calendar on our website. If you go down all the way at the bottom, you'll note, and they'll actually have those dates, Gary, that will say, the first makeup day is made up here, the second through, and I don't want to give you, I can't remember the exact details, but it's laid out very clear. We had a suggestion, and Miss Truitt, one of our board members, she's a board member that has kiddos, and she said, it would really be nice for parents if they knew which is going to be a non-traditional school day and which is not. So that's one of the things that, with her help and suggestion, that we added that to our calendar. We'll try that. I hope that works out well for us. But you never know what happens with the weather. I just hope we have a mild winter. I know everyone likes a good snow, and everyone wants to go sleigh riding, and everybody wants to bundle up and put their gloves on and build a snowman. But it doesn't take many days, and then folks are ready. I'm ready to come back to school to see my friends, and so hopefully no snow anytime soon.
Yeah, we don't need too many snowmen out there.
Yes, we do not need too many snowmen, and we don't want so much snow that we have utility problems.
Right.
And so, hopefully if we do have some bad weather, it's going to happen during our break, our Christmas break. So that would be my fingers crossed, so that Santa could come in on the sleigh. Right,
a white Christmas for everybody. Yes. Everybody's dreaming about it. Might as well have it.
Okay. Yeah, let's just dream about it, and hopefully if we get one, it'll be Christmas break.
Great. Well, again, I've been talking with Marion County School Superintendent Dolores Schlosser here on Channel 6 Central Kentucky Television, and we'll be back next month with more stuff that's going on in Marion County Schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
It's been Gary White for Channel 6 Central Kentucky Television.